An earthquake with a magnitude of 7.1 struck Tibet today. 53 persons have been confirmed dead and thousands of houses flattened in Tibet's Dingri county. Now, the impact of the quake was felt in India and Bhutan. In fact, over the last 30 days, Tibet has been jolted by 20 such quakes of lesser intensity. But there's another reason why we in India are worried. That's because just last month, China cleared the construction of a mega dam, the world's largest on the Brahmaputra River in Tibet. Now, this new dam will be completed over the next decade. It will be 3 times larger than the world's largest dam, China's Three Gorges Dam project. This new super dam will have a massive reservoir. Now think of this for a moment, the impact of such a massive project in a seismologically sensitive region like the Himalayas. It would be the equivalent of a massive water bomb sitting on our northern frontiers. If this bomb goes off with an earthquake of the kind that we saw today, it would have absolutely unthinkable consequences for millions of people downstream in India and Bangladesh. But why is China building this dam? And what could unfold over the years ahead? Joining me on the show is Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, who watches China very closely, and Dr. Ritesh Arya, a geologist who's been working in the Himalayas. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ritesh, I want to start by asking you this. The Brahmaputra is the world's largest high-altitude river. It's descending through the world's longest and steepest canyon. So one obviously sees the hydropower potential for this project. Why is China so unmindful of the consequences when it's gone ahead with building this dam? Is it the Chinese way that we don't care what our neighbors say, we'll do what we think is in our best interest? And what could be the consequences for us?
Yes, exactly. That is the philosophy of China. They have been following this draconian attitude that we are the best and what we want is for us. We don't care what it means for the rest of the country, or the world. So when they are constructing this dam, they're blocking the entire flow of Brahmaputra, and by doing so, they are trying to do 3 things. One, they want to use this water resources for their own desert areas,
Right.
and divert all the waters to that area, thereby creating scarcity in the Brahmaputra Ganges region,
Right.
The second thing is, by constructing this dam, they have an upper power, you can say that
Yes.
since they are in the top, so they can release the water at any time. They can use it in times of war, distract our army by just flooding the areas, whenever
Right.
they want. So that is a major concern to us, because
Yes.
blocking this river. And then third thing is, I think they are not mindful of the dangers which they will be imposing not only for Bangladesh and India,
Right. Right.
but to the entire Southeastern region, including the impacts could be felt right up to the northern parts of Australia, or
Right.
Indonesia,
Yes.
and Thailand, Malaysia. When this gorge and this earthquake is triggered,
Yes.
the present earthquake is still, you can say, located very close to Everest, but
Yes.
the dam which they're planning to construct is very near to this Namcha Parvat,
Yes.
and this is, you see, there is a 90-degree turn there,
Yes. Where the river
And
Brahmaputra
when,
takes a
this
sharp
ni-
turn into India.
That's sharp turn. There are 2 turns, where the docking of India took place when it drifted from Gondwana land,
Yes.
and then it moved further northwards, collided with Tibetan plateau, and led to the evolution of the Himalayas.
Yes.
This entire Nanga Parvat and Namcha Parvat form the you can say the proper joints, where they
Yes.
India.
And that is right where this dam is being situated.
And that is the
Dr.
place
Arya,
where
yes.
this dam is being built. And so this is just a trailer, the 7.1 earthquake which we just saw is just a trailer.
Right.
But when this dam is built on these joints,
Yes.
just consider that these are just hinge joints which you have on your on your doors, you know.
Yes.
When the pressure is accumulated there, then this may itself, the reservoir itself will trigger some earthquakes.
Right. Right.
So that
Absolutely.
earthquake, if that bursts out, is
Yes.
uncontrollable. The water is becomes a bomb, and then it becomes uncontrollable. Not only for Bangladesh, yes, we will be and eastern part of India will be
Yes.
more suffering, but the entire Southeast Asian region and up to Australia, this impacts will be felt, and may trigger even tsunami. You know, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
is the,
absolutely.
so that's
Water,
the volume we are talking about. You know.
reservoir-induced seismicity. But
Yes.
General Shankar, we in the last couple of weeks we've been discussing China's military machine and their ability to, deploy the latest hardware and coerce its neighbors. We've been talking about hypersonic missiles and fighter aircraft and the PLA's armored divisions. But has China now weaponized water with this new project? You think this is a new area that directly affects our national security?
Uh, yeah, thanks a lot once again, Sandeep, for calling me over on News9. You had mentioned that there were 53 casualties because of this earthquake. The
Yes.
latest toll is 95 as per Chinese reports.
Right.
So it's not a simple earthquake, which the toll might increase as we go along. And the magnitude of the whole affair
Yes.
will come forth. That's the first thing. Uh, Personally, I don't think the weaponization of water against India by this dam is a byproduct of their fundamental requirement.
Right.
This is what I've always been saying. I go along with what the earlier speaker said. You see, the Yunnan Basin
Yes.
and the Yangtze Basin of late have been going dry.
Right.
And if they go dry, there's no water. And there's no
Yes.
water, there's no hydroelectricity. This area is completely dependent on hydroelectricity.
Right.
And China is very much short of water.
Right.
And they have also a south-north transfer system, which
Yes.
is not functioning very well.
Right.
And for the first time, 2 years back, the Yangtze River went dry and the bed got exposed. And two of their biggest lakes also just dried out. Now, they need water. They need water, and they intend to take the water from this Great Bend and down to Yunnan.
Right.
Now, the question is, if you can take the water, that's not a big deal. You need to put pipes for that entire length across mountains, and these pipes won't go completely down. They'll be going up and down, and you know how it is. So, which means they are looking at pumping this water in multiple stages to go take it down. Which means they need a lot of electricity. A lot of electricity which they are going to produce here is going to get consumed here. Let's be very clear on that. Because in this area, you don't need electricity, the kind of electricity they are producing.
So it's not so much
And they
about
make,
generating electricity, General Shankar. It's about draining the
yeah,
water away from the Brahmaputra.
look, let me put that also in picture. The Brahmaputra basin, 85% of the water is collected from the Himalayan crestline,
Yes.
from Brahmaputra's tributaries,
Right.
right? Siang is the Brahmaputra. I mean, in Arunachal, it is called Siang. Up north, it's called Yarlung
Right.
Sampo. Down, it's called Brahmaputra.
Right.
But the Brahmaputra is fed by many more rivers.
Yes.
You take Siom, you take Subansiri, you take Dibang, you take Dilai, and Lohit. All these come from our side of the Himalayas. Plus, there are a whole lot of tributaries which feed Brahmaputra from the south, Borel Hills.
Yes.
So water diversion is not a big deal because we have plenty of water in the Brahmaputra.
Right.
That the two issues, like what the earlier speaker said, is the inducing earthquakes.
Yes.
The water body which they create itself will have the weight to trigger an earthquake. Plus the fact that Himalayas are earthquake prone.
Right.
Right. And the funny thing is they've already experienced such an event in Sichuan.
Yes.
If you look at the Sichuan earthquake, it was triggered by an artificial lake which these people made. The weight of the water there went seeped down into the rocks and broke the rocks, and then
Right.
the earthquake occurred. Well, now if an earthquake occurs or water comes down, whatever is put in, Yeah, you'll have a one-time event. But the
Yes.
way I look at it, that's the end of the story. After that, nothing will happen, and China will get back to normal.
Right.
The the biggest problem is China is doing it without much, thought about others, like
Right.
what was explained earlier. China is doing it single-mindedly to meet its own requirement,
Right.
and
China is
it's
doing
not
it
bothered about
single-mindedly, of
others.
course, as it's always done everything with single-minded focus without bothering about its neighbors. But Dr. Arya, India has been trying to raise this issue of this super dam, but China even refuses to acknowledge it or even discuss this issue in any of those bilateral forums that have been raised. Are there other means that India can resort to make its concerns felt? India and possibly Bangladesh as well, because we are the two countries that would be directly affected by this gigantic super dam.
See, I have worked in the borders of Ladakh for the last 25 years with army, providing them groundwater resources, and have closely monitored their movements. You can say they don't care about anything. The population of China and the development which they are envisaging themselves to beat America and become world power is their main motto. So America doesn't care about anything. What you think about them is not important. What they think about themselves is important, and energy becomes more important. And that is why they are more concentrating about building these huge dams and concentrating on energy development as so this is the main concern, but they are thinking of themselves and the water resources which they'll be draining out into Tibet and the drier parts of Tibet, so that they can bring prosperity to them and become at level with the Chinese mainland.
Right.
But on the other hand, this population which we are facing, so in Bangladesh and us and Thailand and other all Malaysian countries, they'll be also affected if something happens there.
Right.
We can't say
Right.
that it is just affecting Bangladesh and India. So
Right.
in that case, in that scenario, how we can put pressure is that we have to be very firm in dealing with China. We
Right.
can't just say that it is okay. We can't and just move on. We have to be very firm in our policies.
Yes.
The whole nation has to speak one language. It is not about opposition and the ruling party. One
Yes.
nation, one policy, and that is we have to oppose China on this front
Absolutely.
at
Yes.
all fronts. And it should not be an appeasement policy that we
Yeah,
criticize the
we have
government
to.
and opposition.
Absolutely.
It has to
That
be a
point is well
unilateral affair.
made, Dr. Arya. But General Shankar, we've opposed China very firmly on the border. We've stood our ground. We haven't held back. And finally, the Chinese had to withdraw. Do you see something like this happening with this gigantic super dam project with all its attendant risks that, Dr. Arya and you yourself have mentioned? What must we be doing now to ensure that this dam doesn't become the kind of threat that all our experts are saying it will?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question. And I think we've got the opportunity now with this earthquake. You see, China at the end of the day, well, you might say that, it doesn't care what it does
Yes.
and it does everything for itself and all that. It also is conscious of its good boy image.
Right.
Now, that is what its actually heel is in this case. Now, there are two, three things you can do. One, like it was rightly brought out, it's not only India and Bangladesh which will be affected, even
Yes.
Thailand and Myanmar, all these
Myanmar
will
as well.
also be
Yes.
affected. Yeah, the Mekong could be affected, the Salween could be affected, the Irrawaddy could be affected. So hence, there is a case for us taking this cue of this particular incident, this earthquake happening, to go and rake up the issue through ASEAN. We
Right.
could put pressure on China through Bangladesh.
Yes.
Then the next thing is, of course, you take it up through the global South agencies and say, look, this is what China is doing. Tomorrow they'll do it for you also. And, we
Right.
have a good standing in global South. Let's start doing that. I mean, you need to go on a high octane information, drive on this issue and
Absolutely.
tell. Right. The next thing which I feel, it might be far-fetched, but I think Tibet is coming into focus. And Tibet is coming into focus in many ways. You see, you had this earthquake here. there's a dam being built. There's a copper somewhere in Yunnan. There's a copper reserve which has been found. So they're going to do copper mining and all that out there, and it also affects the ecology X, Y, Z. There is also the fact that China is very worried about the fact that Dalai Lama, you know, the succession of the Dalai Lama
Yes.
is also an issue. And as per what I've learned, there is already a back channel discussion between the PRC and the Central Tibetan Authority. Right. So now, because you see, if tomorrow something happens with the Dalai Lama and
Yes.
there is a kitbit between the Dalai Lama and this, Tibet can go up in flames and they're
Yes.
worried.
Right.
Right. Tibet is still their weak point if you know how to play it well. So
Yes.
if you put all these issues in perspective, highlight what has happened in this case, and probably the north of Everest is probably the one of the most stable areas in this entire between these two hinges of
Right.
Nanga Parbat and Namcha Barwa,
Right.
right? So we have a lot of things to do, and in any case, it's not in a hurry. This dam will take not in a decade. I don't think it will be done in 2 decades also,
Right.
because that's the time it took Three Gorges Dam to be made,
Yes.
and this is bigger than that.
Right.
So there is time on our side, but we, like it was brought out, the nation has to stand up as a whole and fight this. If the
Absolutely.
people of the nation start
Yes.
fighting, then we will get the thing. And it's not going to be a one-day affair. Earthquake has happened, and tomorrow you've forgotten it. Day after, the opposition cries foul.
Yes.
This has to be a constant effort, which is going to be, we're going to push back on China for the next maybe 5-10 years.
Right.
Then, of course, which people don't discuss, but I think
Yes.
it's time we started our own gray zone activities.
Right.
Well, when China is doing gray zone activities, why shouldn't I do gray zone activities?
Right.
So let's
Dr. Arya,
start thinking.
this point, these points that General Shankar made about how we actually need to get our act together when it comes to this massive super dam. Do you see this as a viable strategy, as in, work on multiple fronts? Because as General Shankar said, this dam is not going to be built overnight. It's going to be a several decades long project, and it's a statement of intent basically. And they start constructing, it will be not available before possibly the mid 2030s or the late 2030s. But what is it that India should start doing now? How much of an opportunity does this earthquake, today's devastating earthquake, present to us when we make our case before the world?
Yeah, we can raise this issue first. Maybe I'll put it in 2-3 terms. What we can do globally. Globally, we can place this in United Nations Development Sustainable Agency. The second thing is, and the most important is, we have to remember the treaty which was signed in 1842 between India, China, Tibet, and Britishers.
Right.
And that says that this China and Tibet, at that time Tibet was autonomous unit, and then
Yes.
they all agreed to it. And then Zorawar Singh comes into picture. Zorawar Singh was the man who built the army and brought all the routes from Punjab se leke and to Kailash tak.
Right.
So we have to be aggressive now. Yes, we have been protecting, we have said that we are coming back. No, we have now, जो हमारा 1962 का status था, we are almost holding the same situation there. But
Yes, yes.
at that time, much territory was given to Akshay Chin, was given to, including Kailash.
Right.
So the government should say that if now we got Ram Mandir, and then we have to get this Kailash back.
Yes.
And when we say that we have to go get Kailash back, we should mean it. And when we mean it, the entire nation again has to stand up. The army is strong enough. We have already shown it in Galwan, and
Yes.
now the entire defense forces, which we have seen, jahan pe gaadiyan took, when I was there, in 2013, it used to take 28 days to reach DBO, other
Right.
than 2 months. So now it takes only about 10 hours,
Right, right.
So
But,
that is
but
the
you know,
movement
Dr.
and the
Arya, this
development we have
point
taken.
about, raising this dam issue, I'm just bringing you back to the
So
dam
I'm just,
and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. I'm just
issue of
telling you
this.
what are the steps we can take.
Yes,
So China ka policy kya rahi hai हमेशा, they don't want to fight a war. They just want to
yes,
threaten us, by doing all these major projects or maybe attacking us somewhere. So if we open the front of Kailash, that is
yeah,
the origin of Sangpo River. Sangpo is sorrow of China. This is
right.
Brahmaputra. So that originates there. The entire river systems. Then they have a different thing that if the China is going to do this, India is going to have a proactive attitude,
Right,
in tackling all
absolutely.
these things. We can't just sit here and just complain to United
Absolutely.
Nations or
We,
Asian countries. Or we have to deal this matter. India is also a superpower. It is also emerging as a
yes,
superpower. Yes,
yes,
we may take some time, but we have all the resources and the strength to
right,
divert all these. These are just diversionary attitudes, of China. Yes,
yes,
they want to conduct. So we also want Kailash, and we need this entire territory of ours back.
right.
So that front
Well,
has to be taken
yes,
up, so that
I'm afraid
we
we're
are
completely
engaged.
out
We
of
engage
time,
them
Dr.
in that
Arya.
front also.
Yes, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, the reason we are talking about China's very worrying development, that's flagging off a super dam on India's borders, is because of that massive earthquake in Tibet that could imperil any such dam project along the borders, and these projects would have massive consequences for countries downstream. You just heard it from our experts, not just India and Bangladesh, but Thailand and Myanmar as well. And that's one reason why China's new dam project has come into our focus today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us today.